Hey everybody, this is the question and answer video that I promised, and I feel bad. I actually promised this after my first hike last year, and I waited so long that I felt like, um, I kind of lost the edge on that. So hopefully here we can get that all back, and I can make this up to you. Let's see an update quickly here. My ankle is getting better. However, there is some every now and then, especially if I've been off of it, like at night when I'm sleeping and I've got to get up. It's very painful to walk on. During the day as it loosens up, it's great, but every now and then there's an angle that it goes at where there's a sharp pain still. So there is something still in there that I've got to work through and work with. My wife's ankle is doing much better. She's actually now allowed to walk on it, so that's actually helped out a little bit because up till now she couldn't walk on it, and so I've had to do all the walking around the house, taking care of things. So that has probably delayed my healing just slightly. Although the amount of walking I was doing, I'd probably be doing it anyway. So I just can't stay down that long. All right, and now as far as getting back to the trail, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, I'm still planning on probably a late summer, fall hike, maybe try to get another 300 miles in, head back up to New York and head north, and maybe if I'm lucky I can get through Vermont, get to see some good colors, get some more miles behind me. The downside of that is the hardest part of the trail will be waiting for me next year to start out again, having to go through all that hiker body prep stuff. So, all right. So let's see. Argooden 51 asked me, I'll be retiring in January 2019 at the age of 68. I'm in good health and walk about 5 to 7 miles a day. I would like to know, would I have a chance of completing a through hike on the AT? And what would be your number one recommendation to prepare? I think absolutely you have a good chance of finishing the AT. There are a lot of guys older than they're out there hiking it, especially if you're walking 5 to 7 miles a day. One of our subscribers, backpacking Kate Breton, suggested that what you could do is maybe do 25 to 30 pounds in your pack, and depending upon where you're at, if you got some hills, you can do that, or you just use some stairs. But just sometimes getting that weight in that pack. You might remember I came across the one trail maintainer that had built that one bench, and he was getting ready to go back, and he had the same thing. When you're older, don't be surprised if you end up having to do this in long sections versus a through hike, because things happen to our bodies. And he got what was all the way up to Connecticut, and so he was getting ready to refinish his hike this year, and he was out there with water bottles in his backpack, hiking up that steep terrain. So what so like here down in Florida, I don't really have any terrain. There's a little bit of sand. Um, I use the expression, let the trail get you in shape. When you're younger, that's easy. When you're older, it's harder. It'll come with some consequences. But one of the things that I remember Sir Pax-a-Lot saying at the top of Georgia Hostel is it takes your body about 300 miles for your muscles to adjust to hiking, and 600 miles for your tendons. So if you can't do much, I would say work on strengthening your knees. So if you can get to a gym and do a stair step, or if you got stairs in your house or just some knee bends, work on your knees, work on your ligaments, stretching, get those things loosened up. The IT band stretch, and I'll in the comments or down in the info section of the video, I'll put a link to a YouTube video that I used, which was helpful on IT band stretches. That's that tendon that runs down your thigh and then goes around your kneecap. For a lot of women, their knee pain comes from that band being too tight. During my break from last year to this year, that's one thing I would do. Take the dog to the dog park, and I lean against a tree and stretch my IT band. And I didn't have a whole lot of knee issues. In fact, I ended up giving up and not even using my Cho pads for a lot of the trail tours the last month. So there are some things you can do. So put your pack on, put a little bit of weight in it, work on knees and ankles and getting those strong, and IT band stretches would be at least something that everybody should be able to do. Okay, Todd asks, it seems like you really wanted to complete the trail in 1 or 2 years. If you heal up right nicely and dial in your pack weight, would you consider just restarting over next year to see how far that goes? In a way, that's kind of what I did this year, because I went ahead and kind of committed to a flip-flop. I was going to at least finish, but then I got the Katahdin. I was left myself open to the possibility of going back down to Skyland and hike south and finish up. The reality is, for me, my priority now has become, I want to finish this trail one direction all the way, start to finish. Yes, I would really like to be able to say I am a through hiker, but I've come to the realization that that's just a title. The certificate I get after doing 3 years of this, and people that have done this over 20 years, you get your 2,000 miler certificate. It's the same certificate a through hiker gets. Yes, it's kind of nice to be able to say, hey, I did this as a through hike. I'm okay with being able to say I hiked the whole Appalachian Trail and save myself and my body for the opportunity to maybe hike some of the CDT, hike the PCT, the Discovery Trail. I like to go out and do other things. So if I can save my old body for those other events, I'll do that. And so call myself a through hiker. I'm okay with now adjusting that reality. All right. Let's see. All right, Lane Douglas has asked, I plan to flip-flop and take more than 1 year to complete. My age is 67. Where would you start each spring of year 1 and 2 to allow gaining your trail legs and stamina the easiest? Flip-flopping more than once each year is planned. Hope to complete in 2 years or seasons. This is interesting. Now I can only speak to the near 1,400 miles that I've hiked so far and what my experience has been on the trail. Of course, you can consider Harper's Ferry going southbound, but then you jump right into that brutal roller coaster, which could be a little discouraging, just like climbing the approach trail to Springer was very discouraging for me. You could instead start at Front Royal and go southbound, taking you right into the Shenandoah National Park. One of the thoughts, as I pondered on this, that might be kind of an out-of-the-box thought is maybe go down to where US 60 and Buena Vista are at, which is pretty close to Glasgow and the James River Bridge. Start there, and you head right down to Browns Creek Shelter, but start southbound there. From there, you're going to have some pretty decent terrain. There's some good ups and downs, but you're starting south of the Priest and the Three Ridges, so you have a little bit more reasonable terrain to start with. And from there, you can take it all the way down to Springer. Then, because that's way less than halfway in mileage, and you might want to get more mileage in, considering then flipping back up north, say to Harper's Ferry, and going north from there and getting maybe Pennsylvania out of the way, kind of make that the end, and you get up through to Delaware Water Gap, and you might be satisfied with the mileage you've got that year, and if not, maybe keep pounding out some more rocks. So that's something to think about. Then the next year when you come back, you start at Buena Vista, and unfortunately you will have the Priest, but the Priest is it's going down it. That's the hard part on the Priest when you're going northbound. But it is switchbacks, and of course over the Tire River Bridge, then you climb Three Ridges. Now I did Three Ridges twice with my kids, and they're all 9, 10, 11, maybe 12, 14, and 16, and we've climbed it, and my boys have climbed it twice. It's not that demanding, so I think you'd be fine, especially if you've already hiked quite a few miles by then. and just head north, and then you'll run through the Shenandoahs, and so you'll have a much easier warm up again for year 2 when you then go and finish the rocks and then hit the whites and everything. So anyway, that's something to think about. And last year we ran into somebody that started pretty close to their Bland. They started in Bland, Virginia, hiking northbound 1,000 miles because they had a wedding to go to. And they wanted to get 1,000 miles on the trail, so they actually went down to Bland and hiked, and were hiking north up until they hit Vermont, and that was their section hike for that year. So. Okay, Robert Rockwell asks, what is the best advice for a person on a limited income like me to try to walk this trail? I really want to do this. Also, I'm 58, going on 59 in September. Well, let's see. There's 3 categories of expense when it comes to hiking. The first one is the gear, the kit that you have. The second one is the trail itself, because there's an expense in actually being out there and resupplying. And then you've got your fixed expenses, which are your household expenses that have to be met. Your gear, the basic philosophy is, the lighter the gear, the more expensive it's going to be to procure. And the lighter the gear, the more pleasant your hiking experience will be, and maybe less pleasurable your nighttime experience. In other words, having all the cool goodies, that weigh a lot. Your nicer cook kits and nicer stoves and things like that, and great big puffy sleeping bags instead of some quilts. I think I'm safe in saying that to probably get the correct gear to do, there's difference between backpacking and long distance backpacking. Okay, to long distance backpacking, you've got to get as light as you can if you want to do it, and your gear is going to cost anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000. Packs are $250 to $500. My ULA was like $260. I think my Osprey was $240, but I got it on sale around Christmas for $190. My quilt, that Nemo quilt, it was $350, and that's on the low side. Some of the Enlightened gear and other stuff out there, Z-Pack, sleeping bags. You're gonna pay a lot of money. Mountain Westoneering, $500 for a down bag is pretty common. Your tent, you can go with some tarp tents. You can go with some single walls, double walls. Your big Agnes's are in the $350 range. Your Z-Packs, which are single wall tent, are in the $600, $700 range. Hiking poles are $100. Let's see, what's the other big 3? You got the pack, sleep system, and tents. Yeah, so you easily could spend $1,500 just for those big 3 items. Okay, and that's kind of a sunk cost. That's the minimum. That's your getting started cost. Now, are people out there sporting different kind of packs? Yeah, Shaman, he had an old Boy Scout, extra frame pack, a thing that looked heavy, and he was hiking north. So can it be done? Yeah, absolutely. Now the trail itself, I think it's pretty common what you hear from most people saying that as a planning factor, it's $2 a mile is what you need to plan on your expenses while you're hiking. Now that changes based upon, if you go into town and you have a $20 steak versus running to McDonald's and buying two super value meals to fill up on. There's a difference there in how much you spend. How many zeros you spend to drive that. Do you stay in a nice hotel, or do you stay in a hostel? Sometimes, a hostel at $25, but 4 people in a hiker room at a Comfort Inn, this may be asking for $80 for the 4 of you, and now it's $20. You can save over a hostel. How often do you do your laundry? Do you pay for it? I watched a lot of people not pay for laundry. They just use some soap in a bathtub. There's times when there was no laundry available, and I used some soap in a bathtub, some shampoo, and you put it in there, and you just rinse and rinse and rinse and squeeze and squeeze and squeeze and just trying to get as much of the dirt out, and it doesn't really help the smell that much, but it's better than nothing. So $2 a mile is pretty much standard. So just to start out now, fixed your household stuff. So if you're out hiking and you've got a mortgage on your house, you've got to plan that in. A car payment, you've got to plan that in. Some of your utility bills. You still got a family at home burning, hot water and gas and air conditioning, and you have to pay for those things. So, my friend Brett, when he went and hiked in 2012, he had a young family. He was atypical. He was a mid 30 guy out hiking. So before he fulfilled his dream, he spent years saving up his money to be able to buy his equipment, have money for the trail, and to have a family reserve that his family could live off of and meet all those household expenses. Unfortunately, that's just a reality. Now, so that's one of the reasons you find people in transition, people getting out of college, where, a lot of them sell their car. If you look at FM Hikes YouTube channel, he sold his Harley to be able to finance coming. So, people get rid of debt and not incur debt, so they can go out and hike the trail during those periods of transition when they're just getting out of high school, just getting out of college, maybe just getting married. Now there's two of them, and they've had some income, they saved some money aside. Given that you're 58, unlimited income, what you may have to do is you may have to wait until you hit your retirement age, where you have some Social Security coming in. In the meantime, spend the time between now and then eliminating debt. Getting the credit cards paid off. Getting getting rid of that expensive car, get the cheap beater that'll just be good enough until you get ready to go to the trail, and then you sell it because you won't be needing it until you get back. So there's some financial planning stuff, and if you want some help with that, just private message me on YouTube. And how you do that, you actually go here to the channel, and there's an About tab, and you click the About tab, and there's a place where you can send me a message, and that way we can talk specifics, and I can give you some suggestions on how to prepare. But like I said, and just quick summary, it's $1,500 to $2,000 for your gear. The $2 a mile basically as your expense while on the trail, and then you have to figure in your expenses at home. Okay, what I may do here, I'm looking at the time, I'm already about 18 minutes into this video. I may break this up into part ones, part twos, part threes, to be able to keep the time more reasonable. So I'll have one more here, and then I'll break and start a new video. All right, this is from Darren Garlow. He says, I'm 50 years old, 5'5" and 130 pounds. Would love to through hike. My concern is I can't do much. I can't afford to basically have much weight loss. Always had a physical job and a problem maintaining weight. Would he expect a big weight loss, or is it possible to gain muscle, especially in the legs? What's interesting is hiking is a different physical activity, and you hear people talking about the hiker body and getting trail legs. And like I said, Sir Paxilak said that it's 600 miles to get your muscles adjusted, and it's 300 miles to get the muscles, 600 miles to get the tendons and ligaments adjusted to being a hiker. If you go to Gator Miller, his YouTube channel, I think he hiked in 2015. He appears to me to kind of have that same stature that you did. And it may be worth sending him a private message and asking him, how he dealt with it. And it seems that, each person's body is different. The metabolism is different. It sounds like you've got a pretty high metabolism if you lose weight just from physical labor. You may have to make sure you supplement with more protein. You might be one of those that actually needs to get protein powder sent to them on the trail, and you focus on having that protein as part of your diet. yes, I lost a lot of weight because I'm a big guy, and the that whole force, if you took physics, you have that equation: force equals mass times acceleration. Well, if we say acceleration is just gravity, okay, and the mass is on the same side of the equation, so the more I weigh, that side of the equation goes up, which means there's more force required to get me moving. All right, so my caloric burn, hiking a 10-mile section of trail, maybe 7,000 calories. Okay, you're a lot lighter, and if you go with lighter gear, gravity stays the same. The terrain is the same. So with that lower mass, the force is less, which means you may actually burn less calories to climb to hike that same 10 miles. Okay, so I wouldn't think that it's going to be a limitation. I saw some really really skinny girls out hiking this last year, this summer. They came flying by. So your physical stature doesn't seem to be a limiting factor. You don't have to be, this great big burly strong guy. Although it was amazing when I saw a hiking Viking come by me near. Oh, it was just north of Hot Springs, near the Gap there. Holy cow! I mean, this guy looked like he was right out of a muscle magazine still. So somehow he was able to preserve a lot of his muscle structure, even though he had started out in the winter and started hiking south around December. So it can be done. It can be done. I would reach out to Gator Miller and ask him what his experience was in all of this. Okay, I will be back here with part 2.